We're going to check it on there. It must be. Oh, yeah. It's clear, isn't it? Oh, I thought you were talking street. And we'll call our meeting to order, councilors, and we'll start as always with a moment of silence. Prayer for if you wish. We may better be able to do the business of the county tonight. I would ask you to especially remember 30 years ago next week, the West Bay explosion took 26 men from our community. Please remember them and their families. Thank you. Okay. Before we begin our agenda, I'd like to acknowledge that we are on the ancestral lands of the Mi'kmaq people. And I would like to thank the ancestors or the people of today, the Mi'kmaq people today, for their ancestors, for sharing their land with our ancestors, whether they came 4 years or 400 years ago. They lived in peace and harmony. So on the agenda, we're moving to the approval of the agenda. There is one addition. Councilor Butler asked that we add the breakfast program for schools so that we don't get in the situation we were in a couple of years ago where we had, various rate-payer meetings approving breakfast money for breakfast programs in particular schools, and then we replaced that with the council supplying money across the board for all the schools. So where can we add that? That's right after the resolutions before the robust program. Sure. Okay, we'll call it 6B then. No, those are resolutions. 7A. Okay, here the other one is 7B. Okay, so that's the discussion on how to handle the breakfast program for our schools. Okay, with that addition, would somebody like to?
So move, Peter.
Thank you.
Seconded, David.
Okay, thank you. Any other additions or deletions from the agenda? Hearing none or seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion carried. Now, minutes we do a little differently now. Of course, we don't need a motion. But are there any errors or omissions from our minutes of April 5th? Any errors or omissions from those minutes? One more time, any errors or omissions? Okay, hearing now, we'll declare those correct. Now we have one piece of correspondence, which is an issue that we've already sent our own letter to the premier. Regarding the non-resident taxation and the refugee transfer tax. However, I think I saw one today from Cumberland. I think that letters coming from most of the municipalities, and the NSFM is meeting this week, of course, at the spring conference. There's going to be a lot of pressure applied to see if these we can get some changes in the resolution, the regulations. Nothing else. Go ahead.
Somebody, could I get a copy of that letter, please?
Copy of the letter from Sheldon or?
No, from here.
Oh, from here. Okay. Yeah, so that letter will be available if anybody wants it. Okay, and are there any questions on the letter from the government that was distributed to all municipalities? Okay, hearing none. We'll move right along, and we have two proclamations tonight. I'll read these proclamations one at a time. I read them both. The first one is for the International Day Against Homophobia and Transphobia. Whereas the Charter of Human Rights and Freedoms recognizes that no one can be discriminated against on the basis of sexual orientation or gender identity or expression. Whereas Nova Scotia is a society open to everyone, including lesbian, gay, bisexual, and trans people, LGBTQ+, and to all other people who identify with sexual diversity and the multiplicity of gender identities and expression. Whereas despite recent efforts toward greater inclusion of LGBTQ+ people, homophobia and transphobia are still present in society. Whereas May the 17th is the International Day Against Homophobia and Transphobia, is celebrated as such in many countries and is a result of a Quebec-based initiative promoted by Foundation Emergence starting in 2003. Whereas there is reason to support the efforts of Foundation Emergence in holding this day, be it resolved that the Municipal Council for the Municipality of the County of Pictou proclaim May the 17th, 2022 as International Day Against Homophobia and Transphobia. Dated at Pictou, Nova Scotia, the second day of May 2022. Signed by myself, Robert Parker, Warden. Oops. Okay, so that's the first proclamation declaring May the 17th, International Day Against Homophobia and Transphobia. Now, the second one is declaring a month, not a day. Gaelic Nova Scotia month. Whereas 2022 marks the 26th anniversary of Gaelic Nova Scotia month. It is a time to recognize, honor, and celebrate the history, culture, language, contributions, and achievement of Gaels across the province. And whereas Gaelic culture is an integral part of the identity of Nova Scotia and one of the earliest non-Indigenous cultures settled in Mi'kmaq, and whereas the new generations of language learners and cultural champions carry on the legacy of Gaelic Nova Scotia tradition bearers, and whereas government remains committed to collaborating with Gaelic communities to support opportunities for enhanced learning to ensure Gaelic language and culture will thrive in the municipality of the County of Pictou. Therefore, I, Robert Parker, Warden of the Municipality of the County of Pictou, proclaim May of 2022 Gaelic Nova Scotia month, Municipality of the County of Pictou. Dated at Pictou, Nova Scotia, the second day of May 2022. Signed by myself, the board, Robert Parker. Okay, so we have, that's our two proclamations, and we'll just say on the last one there, the Gaelic one, that flag that's flying is the Gaelic flag. Was the Nova Scotia flag the other one, or? Municipal flag, and the one beside it, Asia one was this Gaelic flag. They were kind enough to give us that this the other day. And the only thing I want to mention before I take a question from my brother there is, if you want to hear a really good Gaelic service sometime, every summer at the Lord Church in Loch Rome is a Gaelic service. And it's really well done. I don't understand any of it, of course, but the singing is really good regardless of what the language is. I just want to remind everybody that takes place in August. Councilor Dave Barber.
So I just wanted to comment on the recognizing Gaels, Gaelic speakers of Gaels. They were discriminated against severely 150 years ago. Most of them were also Presbyterian, basically, well, some of them were Catholic. Both Catholics and Presbyterians were not allowed to hold a position on the executive council in the Anglican. And well, the language was actively disparaged, buried, not taught, and of course, it pretty well got edited. Now there's some efforts to revive it. Gaels are nothing, not taught. And it came to very difficult land. And in them, literally consist of almost nothing. They're in small plots of very rocky land, very infertile land, And they may live in there for several generations when they were, let's say, actively discriminated against. That go to school and be taught in their non-native land town. And then lost their time. So I'll be expecting someday soon, probably, apologies from the Prime Minister, that we treated. They were not treated fairly. They were discriminated against and said they were forced to go to schools with only the taught in native tongue, taught in English only. Their religion was discriminated against as well. So I'm not going to hold my breath. But if we had to go extend an apology, it could be one. Give speakers in Nova Scotia.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other comments on either one of the proclamations? Okay, hearing none, we'll move right along to our resolution. The first one is the loan guarantee for Victor Landing Fire Department and Council Boyd, the owner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Resolution for the municipality of the county of Pictou, a fire department loan guarantee resolution, about $60,000 to the Victor Fire Department and the purposes for all repairs. Whereas the Victor Fire Department is a registered fire department with the municipality of the county of Pictou. Whereas the Victor Fire Department is incorporated by the Societies Act. Whereas the Victor Fire Department has determined to borrow the aggregate principal sum of $60,000 for the purpose of all repairs by special resolution on the 8th day of March 2022, as per section 1010 of the 10D, of the Societies Act. Whereas the Victor Fire Department has requested the municipality of the county of Pictou to guarantee the said borrowing. Whereas section 2946 of the Municipal Government Act provides the municipality may grant or lend money to or guarantee a loan for a registered fire department for operating capital. Operating or capital expenses. And whereas section 88.3 of the Municipal Government Act provides that no guarantee of borrowing by a municipality should have effect unless the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing has approved the purpose of borrowing or debenture and of the proposed guarantee. Be it therefore resolved, the municipality of the county of Pictou does hereby approve the borrowing by the Pictou Fire Department of $60,000 for the purpose above. That's subject to the approval of the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing guarantee. Municipality and conditional guarantee repayment of principal and interest of the borrowing so made. That upon the issue of debentures, the warden and the clerk at the municipality to sign the guarantee attached to each of the debentures and affix thereto the corporate seal of the municipality. Day of Victor, Nova Scotia, this is the second day of May 2022. Signed by myself, Councilor Everyone, the second to Councilor Dunlap.
Second.
Okay, thank you. And so you've heard the reading of the resolution, the loan guarantee for the Landing Fire Department for the sum of $60,000 for building repairs that becomes effective once the federal government, Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing agrees to it. So is there any questions on that loan guarantee resolution? Okay, don't see any hands, so we'll call the vote on that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion carried. Now, the next one, Councilor Mateo, you're looking after this one, traffic authority policy.
Thank you very much, Mr. Warden. Resolution. Be it resolved by the Municipal Council for the Municipality of the County of Pictou, the council will adopt the following policy with respect to traffic authority. Policy number 2022-04-07. Traffic Authority Policy. Purpose: to establish a traffic authority over roads owned by the municipality of the County of Pictou. Objectives: to provide clear guidance and administration of municipally owned roads within the municipality. 3. Policy. A. Pursuant to the Municipal Government Act, Section 311, Section 2, Council hereby appoints Logan Roy McDowell, Director of Public Works and Development for the municipality of the County of Pictou as the traffic authority for all municipality-owned roads within the municipality. B. Council hereby appoints Dan Allen Fortune, Public Works Assistant, as the Deputy Traffic Authority for all municipality-owned roads within the municipality. D. The Deputy Traffic Authority in the absence or incapacity of the Traffic Authority shall perform such duties and have all authority of the Traffic Authority. dated Picton, Nova Scotia, the 2nd day of May, 2022, signed by myself, Councilor Darrell McKeel, and seconded by Councilor Mary Woodbury.
Okay, you heard the reading of the resolution, naming a traffic authority, for our municipally owned roads. Are there any questions or comments on that resolution? This will allow us to, enforce, certain things that need enforced on some of our roads, and, we need that legally in order to do that, so that's the reason for this coming forward. Okay, if there's no concerns or questions, all those in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carried. Council Grant, Council Palmer.
Order. Resolution be resolved that this council for the municipality of County Pictou, the council approves the payment of the following municipal grants. Fifth County Chamber of Commerce, 1,500 newcomer award. North Nova Center Education Center, $1,000 per shirt. North Nova Education Center, $1,000 graduation expenses. Honolulu Regional High School, $1,000 per shirt. Honolulu Regional High School, $1,000 for graduation expenses. Pictou Academy, $200 for bursary. Academy Bush Regional High School for $100 for bursary, for a grand total of $5,900. Dated Pictou, Nova Scotia, the 2nd day of May, 2022, moved by myself, Councilor Raymond Collins, seconded by Councilor Chester Dorr.
So seconded.
Okay, moved and seconded, the Council Grant, Council Palmer just read it there. Any questions on that resolution? Okay, let's go to the vote, all those in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carried. Now, we're on the Climate Change Committee, and there's a resolution supporting World Oceans Day. Councilor Wells, are you prepared to take that one?
Yep.
I don't see a name, but you're chair of that committee.
Resolution, whereas Wednesday, June 8th, 2022 is the 30th annual World Oceans Day. World Oceans Day is the United Nations Day for celebrating the role of the ocean in everyday life and inspiring action to protect it. Whereas countries around the world, including Canada, as a prominent leader, have committed to protecting 30% of their oceans territory, and 2030 is in order to reverse nature's loss in the ocean and safeguard at-risk marine life. Whereas the ocean is home to hundreds of species at-risk, vulnerable ecosystems, and is critical carbon sink shielding us from the worst of climate change. Whereas the ocean produces over half the world's oxygen and absorbs 50 times more carbon dioxide than our atmosphere. Therefore, protecting the ocean is in the interest of all life on Earth and communities, both coastal and inland, as is essential to our sharing future. Whereas in the jurisdiction of the Government of Canada are the various pieces of legislation and regulations to establish marine protected areas in consultation with Indigenous people. Many Indigenous nations and communities are leading in the conservation of the ocean and have been stewards of the ocean since time immemorial. Whereas it is important for municipal leaders to demonstrate support for actions to safeguard the ocean, as they have far action on climate change and other environmental matters of national importance. Whereas in celebrating the ocean and protecting its habitats and ecosystems, we can together raise and profile of the ocean conservation's critical role in improving planetary health and showing the crisis of species collapse and the ecosystem decline. Therefore be it resolved that the municipality of the county of Pictou recognizes the 30th anniversary of World Ocean Day on June 8th, 2022, and supports national and international efforts to protect 30% of our ocean by 2030. Dated in Pictou, Nova Scotia, the 2nd day of May, 2022, by myself, Peter Boyles, and Councillor Larry Turner, second.
Second.
Okay, thank you, Councilor Wills, for making your way through that.
Yeah.
That's a lot. Okay, so we had a seconder for that, did we? I've got the turn, sorry, I just didn't get this. Okay, and are there any questions for Councilor Boyles on that resolution? I will say it's important that this is the 30th anniversary of we're trying to protect 30% of the ocean. So we're not the other 70%, but you know, the ocean just right around here in Michigan is very important to us. So what lobster fishing starts tomorrow, and we make good use of our beaches and all that. We're just on the edge of the ocean. You know, but we don't sometimes realize just how important it is the overall of our whole Earth, I guess. But so I'm glad to see that coming forward from our climate change committee, which continues to do a lot of good work. Okay, we need a vote on that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any? Carry. And at this point, then we're going to bring up the matter of the breakfast programs. As I said earlier, what we ran into before was various districts at the ratepayers meetings had set money aside to help with the breakfast program. And then we brought something in overall from council. So then it was difficult to say, well, do you draw that back or how do you handle it? So, Brian, do you have any? Anybody have any? Oh, okay, we didn't because of COVID. $10,600 2 years ago, and I think probably because of COVID got off kilter on us, but we did run into that problem where we had people that the ratepayers being getting approved and then finding that we were going to approve it as council. So does anybody have any suggestions on the level of funding that perhaps is needed? I think the provincial government put some forward for these breakfast programs, but anything I heard is they still run short. Go ahead, Councilor Boyles.
I don't know if it's the same thing or not, but we have the breakfast program for schools as well. We keep doing that, right? But I got a call today from a lady that they do a backpack program. And what the backpack program is, she told me, is like there's so many children come to school that have nothing to eat. But not only that, when they go home, they don't have nothing to eat. So what they do, they make up like bags up for them, and they put meat, and they put all different things in to do meals and stuff like that, and it's sent home with the student. So I don't know if you're looking at two different things, or because I already told the lady with the backpack program that I would give her money out of our municipal for that purpose.
Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think sort of like all in one. I mean, the schools had the breakfast program, and they knew that, especially during COVID, that there were a fair number of children who perhaps didn't have enough to eat at home, especially on the weekends. Even now, we go home on the weekends, feed them 5 days, and not much to eat the other two. But as far as I know, it's sort of all paid out of the. Maybe Councilor Turner, you're in the schools every day. Can you elaborate on that?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, this program has been going for quite some time. Now, in terms of the funding for it, the particular funding for it, I'm not particularly sure, but in terms of the execution of it, the children go to the cafeteria at the end of the school day on Friday. And it's the cafeteria that supplies them with what they need for the weekend to take home. So I'm not sure what the particular funding is for, but in terms of the execution, there's also I'm made aware school I'm in now that the United Way has given a considerable amount of money for the breakfast, or actually for the lunch program. And so United Way is stepping up to the plate as well feeding children in schools, so that's another source of funding. But in terms of the particular funding that goes towards the backpack program, I don't know if it's separate from the breakfast program or not.
Okay, I kind of thought it was, but I could be wrong. Go ahead,
I called the same lady a couple of weeks ago, and it's for the backpack program, but the lunch program, or the breakfast program, and she said they were two separate programs.
there are two separate programs.
At least at Frank Page. I didn't check out the other schools, but Frank Page it is.
So the president,
Yeah, and she said that, I think the breakfast program is getting funding from the province as well. But I didn't get before, but again, I'm not sure how much or any of that stuff. Backpack program, I think United Way may be the only source of revenue for them. And she does a lot of the shopping for the items for backpacks at Frank Page. And she said it costs approximately $30,000 a year just for that school. So that's what she's looking for. She's coming around looking for funding from the various municipalities because the breakfast program, and they approached various municipalities for the municipal service rights. So she was hoping to get the same thing. So I just suggested that she said, well, I can come down and Little Harbor and pick it up. There's also the other areas that perhaps might be able to attend and see if there's any funding available through business service.
and I guess it would be preferable or good if we could kind of come up with amounts from council so that we're not having different amounts from all the different rate fees, you know. But I don't know what council's feelings is on that, if we could do it one way or the other, but I know we did get caught one time when we tried to have some done at rate fees. How do I take line back? How do we do it? Council. Council Daker.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. If we do this, we need to do it on a capita or per student basis. It's not reasonable to give one of our very small schools the same amount of one of our very biggest schools. First comment, don't make it. Secondly, I'll add what I said on the value council. They've got two programs there. I don't know if they're independent. One is a breakfast program, which is well used. And the other is what they call the Karma Kitchen. This is where people can donate funds or canned goods, what have you. And then they are passed out to those in need. I think that's a program run in the school by a couple of the teachers and some volunteer students. If we're sending money to those schools, should indicate that it's for a breakfast program or other similar programs that actually they can move it on the SMOs need. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments on breakfast program? Go ahead, Councilor George.
I just want to make a motion that we do it the same way as we did a couple of years ago, when that was like, there's so much for Pick the Academy or.
With the per capita that we have?
We had to figure it out there, they had the numbers. So I'm gonna make a motion that we send for the breakfast program, the same as we did 2 years ago. And once it's in the school, that we send it for the breakfast program, that's gonna look after the people that are having their meetings. That's covered, right? They won't be taking it back from it.
The rate pay, I guess it would still be a choice if they wanted to give more, but we're giving ours first, but after, go ahead, Councilor.
No, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but it's just that she indicated to me they're two separate programs. And she has no idea how the breakfast program runs. She runs the lunch, backpack program. So I'm not sure, I think, but I get more information. I asked her from that, especially when we were meeting with others, so they didn't have idea. Showing the document in District 2 or
But if council later decides to give so much for the backpack program, then we're caught in the same situation where we have 3, 4, 5 districts that have given already, and then so we almost need to settle it here tonight, I think, one way or the other.
So, okay, then we'll make it for the breakfast program, the same as 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And then we'll get more information about the other, if they need something.
Or we know they need something, it's a matter of whether we make a motion tonight or not. But let's deal with the breakfast program first.
What I want to
Peter, your question about the breakfast program,
Yes,
separate from the backpack?
yes.
Let's deal with it first. Okay, Larry has something.
No, I was just gonna second it so we can get it on the floor.
Okay, so the motion that Chester made, seconded by Larry, that we, the same amount of dollars that we're down with, in the same way as we did 2 years ago. Okay, that's a motion that is on the floor. Peter, you want to speak to that breakfast?
Yeah, I do. What I would like to know is, I think at the last meeting we had here, that Chester had said that they weren't allowed to buy from Sobeys and Superstore and then places for the boxer program, that they had come from a certain place we bought from. Or if that's the case, then we should be looking right into that to see what's going on before we make it big. And the other one, let's speak of the other one too.
But I think we have to make a motion if we're gonna donate some money. We can then look into whatever, we probably can't do a lot about it. It's probably, the education center that's determining where it comes from. We can protest what they're doing, but we need to direct the money to the schools first, I think, and then deal with that other issue. Do you want to speak again, how to do it?
just on that, I think, like, if I donated money, that, or the county donated money to the schools, that they could spend that as they see fit, okay, for the breakfast program. But if it goes through board, then it has to come from the marriage commission. And that was the email they received. Some of the administrators were pretty upset about that. Okay, so,
But our dollars could be directed locally.
and that could be on the,
It could be right there, yeah.
when we say.
So I have to turn.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. I just want to emphasize the need for this. There's a tremendous need for food in the schools for children that are not properly nourished. And I administer for my class the breakfast program. And I would say that there's a considerable amount of children that are not fed before they come to school. And so it's extremely important that we feed these children, because when they're malnourished and they don't learn properly. So I just wanted to reemphasize the actual need for this program. For the schools.
Thank you, Councilor Turner. I know that you're aware of it, you're in the middle of it every day, most of the time. So it's good to hear that from you, that this money fed and needed. Go ahead, John.
Yes, Mr. Gordon. I guess the reason I wanted to bring this up tonight was to get clarification, and we're getting there. I'd like to speak in support of Councilor Dewar's motion and say that the first step maybe is to address the school breakfast program. And I guess our discussion may go on from there once we get through this motion. But I think it's important that we have continuity in all schools in regards to the breakfast program.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor to give 10,600, I guess is what the previous amount was, on per capita basis, or however we've done before, to the all of the schools in Picton County for the breakfast program. This is only for the breakfast program. Are there any other questions, comments on that motion before I call the vote? Go ahead, Councilor West.
I'm not against the motion. I think it's a great program. I recognize a lot of young day for breakfast programs for the children. I'm just real concerned the children need something that we don't really have. This is May. I'm just kind of concerned. It's near the end of the year. We really don't have the figures of what's going on. It might be more good. It might be more good to have this come in September. Just perhaps we have enough money now to get through to the end of the year. Or would they nation in September with that? Or how does the province? Because I know the province is getting to now. I think it'd be better if we get support on the nation.
The province isn't getting there right now, but I would.
I don't tell they do, but we don't know that. We don't know how much they're getting to the response. I'm saying perhaps it would be better if we found out more information as to how the program works and what, when they need the money as opposed to getting to them now.
This is the time of year we're dealing with the grants, so I think it does need to be dealt with, but go ahead, Councilor Field.
Thank you, Mr. Morgan. Just very quickly, I know that, most breakfast programs or the one that I'm familiar with, had so much money for the year. This hit the time of the year that, they've gone through their budget because there's mouths to feed and this is when things get pretty tight and lean. And I think that, the money that wasn't spent this year would not be carried over to September anyways, but this is the time where they only have X amount of dollars to make it through the end of the year. And I think that there's some programs out there that are worried that if they can do that. So I'd be in favor of I'm in favor of the motion, the way it's being done, and also getting them the money as possible.
And I think some that already have on there. Okay, go ahead.
The only thing I'd like to see this money. Buying stuff inside the county. Or no business. And then need somewhere else.
We can add that as part of our motions, okay with you?
I said that.
Yeah, you said it, I just want to make sure it's included in the main motion. Larry, and you're okay there? Okay, let's go for the vote on that one then. This is for the breakfast program only, 10,600. All those in favor? Okay, here. Now, if we're going to discuss the backpack program, which I understand that is different from breakfast program, and we know what it is for students that perhaps there's not enough food at home. So they know that, teachers know that. They're sending food home with them, and so they reach there to some counselors. And again, if we're not careful, we'll have some counselors give the money at the repair meeting, and others not, or others, maybe not in a position to, so we'd rather treat all of our schools like on a fair basis. So does anybody have any suggestions as to how we should treat this one, since it seems to be separate from breakfast? Go ahead, Councilor Keel.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. I think we need to find out from the schools how many participants they have in the backpack program, and we do something very similar, to the per capita, that if there's, 20 students using it, that those, instead of giving just the same donation to every school, I think it needs to be on a per capita basis as well. And I think that we need to find out that information from the school. And then when we do, we do the same procedure as we did with the breakfast program.
Because I'm sure they are as great a need or maybe greater, since they maybe gave the province, so they may do be in dire need for it now, but go ahead, Councilor Rogers.
Yeah, as I said, I talked to the lady tonight, and by the way she was talking, man, oh man, I wish I had $10,000 I could give her. I mean, she said she goes out, she's leaving this herself. She goes around to the stores, stores, and she looks for bargains. So she can get good bargains, get more meat, get more whatever they need, oranges, whatever they apples, whatever. And she turns around and makes this backpack thing up that kids take home, and it gives them a couple of meals, like and have a gracious thing. And I think it's for the family too. Like she gives it to them, they take home, they get a half decent meal. And she also told me that that it's, again, that this is something that's different than the breakfast program. The breakfast program is a good program, but it gives them something when they come to school in the morning. This is something that after that they're going to take home, and they're not going to be going home to nothing and having a half decent meal. So, I mean, I've already told her, and when she asked me, I told her, yeah, that I give her what I had left in my municipal money. So, I mean, unless we want something different tonight, that's what I'll be doing.
Okay, thank you. I wonder at some point if we take over from the province in terms of this for the families. We all know that, when you have kids, you can determine that there's not enough money to survive on, and this appears to be not unlike, all kinds of other programs that have done that money there. If I can see trying to help those kids, if we're helping them 5 days a week, if we don't 7 days a week, but I don't know where our responsibility, how far it goes. So Councilor McNeil has suggested that perhaps we get more information before we act on this one. Is that what most people think? You get some data on how we're doing the backpack programs, but certainly according to the lady you were talking to, Councilor Boyle, that the need is great right now. And, so what's the general feeling? We should give them some money now, or we should investigate more? Go ahead, Council Bowman.
I'm saying it's Council McKeel. We need more information because I'm not sure if Thornton does it or not. I think this is only Frank H. Same one that called people, right? So we have to know what schools are doing this, and then we'll have to figure out what kind of money we're going to come up with. But also, if we get them money, then they're not eligible for a Mrs. Surgery.
Yeah, I think we're trying to do it as a council.
So you don't want to give it out at your meeting and then take it back.
No,
That's all I'm saying.
that's why we're trying to deal with it tonight, but I do agree that the shortage of information. Council Turner?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I've witnessed the backpack program in schools, and I've been to every school in the county. Now, I've witnessed it being administered in some schools, but there was quite a few schools that I never saw. So I would surmise that it's not being done in all schools. So I think that we're on the right track. We're going to find get that information to base our judgments on.
Councilor Bowman?
Mr. Ward, yes, I agree with Councilor Palmer. We do need more information, but we have requests that are coming as close as tomorrow night. And so what happens if a councilor allots a certain amount of money for this program in the next week or so, and then we come up with a policy in 2 weeks' time or a month's time in regards to what the town is going to do. So then it would be double dipping. How do we overcome that?
That is what happened before with the breakfast program that we're trying to avoid, but is that the same way to avoid it? If we need more information before we can make a motion here tonight, and though some of the big opinions are coming up right away, and council feel that they should be given to it because they don't know if council's gonna, donate something to it or not. I guess the general feeling I'm getting is that most councils would be in agreement, with putting some money forward for the backpack program, but we don't want to do it tonight because we don't know the figures well enough to know what the need is. So if council should withhold from giving dollars at the retailers meeting, maybe hold some in advance of whatever they have, then there would be something to help if it didn't happen here. But I think it will happen here once we find out, what the need is or how many schools have it. Mary, did you have your hand up? Go ahead.
Thank you. One of the programs that I know that happens in one of the local schools is you have to sign up for it, and all the product that the children take home, like it's food, would be donated. And my question to you is, if the food is donated and it's a sign up only, how do you support, are you supporting all the students or just the ones that sign up? That's like, the money, is it going to help all the students or just a selected few? A lot of people, they're proud, will not allow them to sign up and take that home and let everybody see that they're in need.
That's always a concern, and in the past, I've always said, let schools decide they know what the need is. We can't sit here and decide. Go ahead, Councilor Wood.
Yeah, and as I said, I've already told her that she explained the program up to me. I thought it was a great program. And to me, I don't care what kid gets it or who kid gets it. I hope all the kids get it. But I don't want to see these kids going home being hungry and not having a bite to eat. This is ridiculous. We throw a lot of money at this council. So I think that, if we're not going to come up with a solution, in the very near future, then as I say, my great bears meet this tomorrow, and I'm going to I know it's going to pass and turn around and give the money, the $800 some dollars that are left in mine to this program. So to me, if kids being fed, hey, I don't care what they do.
Okay, thank you. I would have to disagree with your comment that this council throws out a lot of money. It spends a lot of money. But I don't think we throw out a lot of money. That is the bind we're in, is that some of these meetings, I believe there's at least 2 or 3 maybe tomorrow night. And that's why Councilor Butler asked that we deal with it tonight. Councilor McKeel and then Councilor David.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. Speak for my second time. I'd like to say that can we not agree that this is something that we want to support and put some dollars behind? We just need to find out what the need is first in order to, and some numbers before we figure out an actual dollar amount. Can we not agree as a council though that this is something that we would like to support?
You want to make a motion then to that effect?
Sure, I'll make that a motion that we as a council agree to support
Backpack program and ask for further information.
and ask for further information before we commit to an actual amount.
I'll second that.
Okay, moved and seconded, that we, agree in principle that we're going to support the backpack program, but that we don't put a dollar figure to it until we get more information. That was at least let the councilors who are having a meeting tomorrow night know that we are going to put some money toward it. We have to just get better information so we know how many schools are involved on that. Councilor David.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The suggestion I made earlier, that whatever monies we send to them, don't put an exact tag on it, that it has to go for a reference program, but we ask them to use it, their discretion for the reference program or a similar program. Allow them to support the backpack program to that. I'm not against supporting the backpack program. The other comment I want to make, I only have experience in one school, is that they're very careful. They use great discretion, but that they don't stigmatize those children who don't. They're not going to break me on backpack that go over me and it'd be food. They're very, very discreet. That's equally important. The breakfast programs are open to all. It's not only a lot of when I was still when I started school work, there were students that were using it, even though they had food at home, but they could save about 10 minutes in the morning.
That's a lot.
Well, a lot of teenagers, so that's just 3 minutes. They would come at the very last minute, rush through the cafeteria, and be munching their breakfast food while they listen to the announcements. But it's a good program. It helps those in need. It helps some that just haven't needed the time in. But I know on the other side of the coin with the say Northumberland, they call it Karma Kitchen. They're very, very discreet. Thank you.
Okay, we need to bring this to conclusion. We have on the breakfast programs that is the amount of money. We have a motion to in principle that we're going to support the backpack program. More research council will know how many dollars. After Butler on last turn.
Just one last clarification. I like the motion. However, the question is, if the motion passes and councillors come forward at the ratepayers meeting and contribute at the same time, is that double dipping?
Yeah, there is a problem there. I'm not sure which way it works. Council Butler mentioned before. If you get a municipal service grant, or you get this grant, you're not eligible for a municipal service grant. Yeah, so we're saying that we're going to give them money. We just don't know how much yet. So it'd be best if he didn't give money on the municipal service grant, but here Councilor Boyle saying he wants to give a sizable amount of what he has toward that. So once we start individual ratepayer meetings, give the money. Now, if he were to give it at the ratepayer meeting, is it then not eligible for something we're talking about? Or we're pro-win? But still be not eligible this way. You can't tell the other, yeah. Yeah, so either way, you can't, so what we're trying to do is to make it so that councilors know there is money coming, but we don't know the amount yet. Trying to prevent it, taking out of certain costs. What is it to do?
I think that's one, approval of the service grants for the public for council. We make a decision to be right for that.
Yeah, so the final determination is here, we have to all approved and usually they just go through, but that would be one way to do it once we see how much money we put forward.
And the other thing is that I'd like to see report back to the finance committee if possible. Things are grant or not. That up.
Okay, so, I need to move toward a vote here, and the motion is to coordinate principals backpack program at our schools, and within 2 weeks, to put an amount, to that, and, I'm not gonna say anything will be the big data program to do what they, feel great that, the attempt of this motion is to prevent them from coming to do different areas. So I'll go for the vote on that motion, then all those in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carried. So in 2 weeks' time, we will have whatever information we need at our committee meeting, make that, decision. Okay, now we have the update on our rural broadband, and the CEO tells me that this is gonna be from a high level. It's not the detailed information that we usually get with or probably looking to answer the questions that people that they're asking. When am I getting it? And we get the fiber, or we get wire, that seems to be the biggest questions that I know of. I believe Joanne has updated our map or whatever. I think so, yes, in here.
It's progress.
In the progress being updated. The people want to know that when they go on there, they look, want to know what they're getting, I guess, is what we're looking at. Turn on the brand.
So the kind of broken this down into, I guess, 3 components, and just for our wireline update, so fiber to the homes. So Telecom are working in the field to complete splicing in the Lions Brook area. So there's probably 2 to 3 weeks worth of work to complete the splicing on the first run, which is roughly from, it's from this building out to around Pleasant. I think it's the road. So then Telecom will begin installing the drops to the homes in the Lions Brook area. So there's 230 some odd homes in that area. From there, they will begin installing fiber and doing splicing from the Lions Brook area to the West River Fire Hall. And the West River Fire Hall white space is to be completed at that point. So we are leasing space within the fire hall to basically have a cabinet there that will allow for the fiber to be distributed in different directions from that point. Telecom will begin installing strand fiber and splicing from the West River Fire Hall in 2 different directions, towards Salt Springs and towards New Glasgow. And we are waiting on make readies on River Crossing and Rail Crossing. They're still pending as we move back towards New Glasgow. And I can tell you that a minute ago I got the approval on the River Crossing. So to change this by the minute. Yeah, and that's the thing, like those permits were submitted about 18 months ago for those processes. So just kind of updating the tower sites and kind of giving timelines of when towers will kind of start to move forward. So anybody, or hopefully everybody knows when you drove down the driveway here, tower located in back of the premises here. So that tower is still in progress. So last week they did the electrical work for that tower. So this week they're scheduled to begin actually installing the equipment on that. And that tower should be completely operational by 1st of June. Eureka site preparation is to begin this week. Very similar process to what we see here. So the tower goes up, electrical work is completed, equipment is put on the towers. River John situation, or the lease is expected to be signed with the River John Fire Department this month, probably within the next week, because the terms have been basically negotiated for that site. And tower should be fully done by the end of June. Bailey's Brook offer letter to be sent by the province soon, so we actually received that on Friday. Construction start on that site by June 1st. So Caribou Island pending lease was sent to the province, but we're continuing to look for private lands in that area. Poplar Hill lease is under negotiation at this point, so we don't have a firm date on that. Once we nail down kind of the lease components, then it drives the program after that as far as construction and stuff goes. So Blue Mountain and East River, St. Mary's, those are two areas that are still under kind of review. So there were comments when we did a public consultation on those, so they have to satisfy some of those. Eden Lake negotiating with the landowner, that should be done by mid-May, and then the various co-locations. So we have our agreements with Dell on Green Hill and Harvard Hill. So the ground level work will be done during May. The thing with the co-locations is the owners of those sites have specific companies that can only climb the towers and do installs on the towers. So we're dependent on those third parties, but everything is being scheduled accordingly for there. So just as a kind of a strategy, so as the project moves forward, communications will be rolled out in phases by really two groups. So there's the fiber side and the wireless side. And it'll be basically rolled out kind of as a rolling plan as segments become live or towers become live. The properties are identified, and specifically communications will be sent to all people affected by mail. Follow-ups may include other strategies, including phone calls and or in-person visits. So the initial communications flyer, each resident will receive the digital information flyer, encouraging them to confirm before a specified date their connection to the network. So the flyer will set out procedures to be followed, and all the pertinent dates will be contained in the flyer. Residents can confirm their connection by mail, phone, or online. By mail, they will just have to complete a prepaid postage reply card. Reminder notices will be sent by mail, and additional strategies will be employed when necessary, including phone or in-person visits to homes. So some of the materials that are being developed, the general flyer, it is being printed in batches to coincide with the launch of the sites or the segments going live. Pre-stamp reply card. Each connection will receive a pre-stamped reply card for those who do not wish to complete the online registration. On the wireless side, each person will receive specific information on the wireless service being offered, as well as information when they will be able to access other services such as fiber. So people in some areas will eventually have fiber, so the communication should everyone when they can expect that. to transition over. Yeah, so some of the next steps, and things that are being worked on, development of the launch of the transactional website, so that is the site where people actually sign up for the various services, bringing in logo design, stakeholder mapping, refinement of the key messages, developing what the web approach strategy might be, as well as a strategy for each of the various stakeholder groups. Really be.
Okay, thank you for that, Brian. I just want to clear up one thing before we open up the question. You mentioned that the Western Firehouse fiber was going to there and then swinging South Street to Glasgow. You also mentioned mixed in with that white space. White space is part of the wire, not the wire.
No, white space is, in essence, the cabinets. So it's not in the field. It's basically the server room over here would be classified as white space.
What
So
was the other term we use for
TV white
TV
space.
white space? Okay, that's why I get confused.
Yeah.
Isn't that part of the wireless? So
Yeah.
you're talking about stuff that's in the cabin when you're saying white space.
White space is, yeah, yeah,
Okay.
sorry.
Yeah, I just wonder how the device makes the wireless in with the fiber. Okay, so that was meant to be more of a broad overview, as you can see, when the towers are going up, and there's still quite a bit of negotiations going on with these towers yet to, to get the plan where they're going, half of them or more are well on their way, but other ones that are still under negotiation or whatever, and the more towers we get up, and the sooner we get them up, and we can get something going here, so that, especially those people that have nothing. Some we're looking at that already have Bell or Eastlink or whatever, they're gonna have to decide if we wanna stay where we are or we're gonna go somewhere else, but we got a lot of areas of our county that still have nothing. And when ours is up and running, there won't be any charges for people to start. They don't need to go up with $600, $800, $1,000. It'd be, when it's ready to go, it's ready to go. And I think we've already set our price rate on wireless. $49.95 is all it's gonna cost. It's somewhere, to have, internet service up to 25 megabits. For the wireless.
The standard is 25.5. Some areas with our wireless will be 50.
Yeah, but it's 25 sort of the minimum we're going for. Which is still pretty good service compared to what most people have now, $49.95. So I think we should be, in a good place in terms of the marketplace. Anyway, we'll open it up for questions. Go ahead, Councilor Butler. They'll say there's lines,
Yes, Mr. Warden, I was under the understanding that there was a tower going in the Piedmont Valley area. On the list there, I misunderstand?
There's one in what they're calling Bailey's Brook.
That's what it is, and I was thinking that there was going to be two in my district. Bailey's Brook is a certain point east. Piedmont Valley, Piedmont, and Broadway, those areas are almost receiving no signal at this point.
Piedmont Valley, Broadway area is receiving almost no signal, and they be, they would be listed for fiber or not. We weren't putting towers sometimes in areas that were kind of connected to fiber. I'm not so sure that that area you're talking about would be fiber. You would have done that.
The original map was the.
Oh, the original where the towers were supposed to be.
That's for the original.
Piedmont was one of them. How the butler version on that. Can you look into that something, Brad, to see what, with the one in, Bailey Brook, I don't know how far serve, whether it would serve that far, what's the distance roughly from Bailey Brook to Piedmont?
As a crow flies, I would say probably 12 to 15 kilometers.
That you were, yeah. Okay, our CEO will, look into that one, that's what we're doing all the time. And they see if we can make it work. Chief,
People may have disappeared when we lost the order.
okay, because of the.
The order was delayed,
It bounced off,
so it may have disappeared because of that. So,
so how do we serve those people that join us and not get invited?
just like that. That there may be part of it.
Otherwise, we're gonna find some way to serve them. Go ahead, Councilor Gibbs. I don't have anything to say. I gave it down for her. All right, that's it is, sir. Go ahead, Councilor Boyle. Just something to say?
Yeah, I had a call today. It was a strange call. I looked around and was, I mean, that, heard on the radio that Charlie Parker was turned around and putting up, the council's backing him for $25 million to run up his internet. All this, all right. I said, you know, I told him, I said, it's Robert Parker's the warden. I said, it's a municipal in Victor County. That's our thing that we're trying to do. And he got it that it was all Victor County. He said, our taxes are gonna go up. He didn't start it. I said, your taxes ain't gonna go up for this. I said, so I think there's just a little bit of confusion out there. I think where it all comes from is municipality of Victor County, and they instructed that they all Victor County, right?
That's always been a problem, even with the town victim too, about the time we're confused one with the other, just similar names, but so are a whole lot of other places that was good to do with they have a Lunenburg Town, a whole lot more like that. So you're always going to get, somebody thought, I heard was hit 45 million at the council. Okay, any further questions for CEO? Councilor J. Burke.
Want the short Peter that I'm very, very used to being confused one way.
Yeah.
Mike?
I just tell them I'm 50 pounds heavier and I want that wrong.
Please stick to the subject.
And, well, this is subject. I just wanted to thank Brian and Sue for coming up to Norfolk last Wednesday evening. They were proven with hard questions. There were some hard questions, and that's a good thing. And there was some misunderstanding, as there always is. But the general feeling of almost everyone left there was that, yes, we're going to have a project. Yes, there's risk involved. That's going to be a hell of a lot better than we have right now. We don't have Eastman. We don't have land. Started in the 1970s, but most of us have satellite. It's just I couldn't even do my job. This, I say regularly. About half my calls on this device will drop unless I'm right pressed against the glass window of the French doors. I joke that I have to get up in the front of my cage so that the smoke signals will last. But it's only, it's a joke. Our surface, once you get in on the boundary of Westport, is a joke. That's why we're working so hard. So I want to thank Brian and Sue-Ann for coming out well beyond the bounds of Westport last week. And the people were generally very receptive. And like I said, there were some hard questions. Some of them were just hard to understand. Some of them were challenging questions. What we want. Better questions, but I feel more confident now than ever that this is going to go. So thank you.
Okay, and Councilor West.
Just Brian, could you send a copy of that presentation? Can you just have a chance to learn?
Okay, any other Councilor Brown?
Just a couple questions. On white space in the West River Fire Hall. That's an actual room, is it? It's a server room or something like that?
It's actually just a cabinet.
Just a cabinet.
And it's not
Things involved from that.
nothing elaborate. It's literally
Just a cabinet.
a cabinet. Yeah.
So the towers, I count 16, 20 towers. When we applied for the federal government for these towers, it's 9 or 11 we applied for.
Under their actual funding agreement, I think at the end of it, they changed it to, I think it's 6, is the number that we actually meet the terms of their, of the actual funding agreement, it's 6, but
So the other 10 were funded through our own funds.
it's being funded through the rapid response, like the,
So we're getting 4.6 from the federal government and whatever, and then this costs 16 million size. Still costs more than 4.6, right?
so the rapid response was somewhere around, I think our original budget was 10.5. What the original was, and we had 4.4 from the bids.
And with the addition of powers, it's still more.
No, it's actually below
Low.
that, yeah.
We have a lot of co-locations there.
Yeah,
Okay, the other thing it says, sign up for service, okay? Advertise to sign up for service. All that. Who would sign up? Who's the provider?
so when the initial goes out on the fiber, the sign up is for the home install. And so that's actually put the drop into the home.
Put it in the home. But
So
they
that's
have
us.
to go. They'll have to go through the provider.
The provider will not be us.
Will not be.
So the first, it's a 2-step process, so it's infrastructure install first, which is us, and then ISP for the actual service. Yeah,
So for the wireless, the ISP or is that us?
that's us on the wireless.
No, just trying to clarify.
Yeah, so we do everything on the wireless, so we do the,
And once things get up and running, we'll wireless no matter what. Looking at the wireless, no ISP.
right, initially, there may be a point where it makes sense that we bring ISPs on the wireless. But
ISPs might provide other services.
Right.
So that's the challenge.
right now, we're the wireless provider.
Okay, no, that's all I was wondering.
Yeah, and I just wanted to add that, helping us to keep that initial price down, not having anybody in the middle. We wanted to try and get as many people as possible, you know, regardless of financial situation, to be able to have some figure. So that was the aim, to get that flow as possible. One way of helping with that. Now, I know that's a question. Any more questions for CEO on the high speed there? Go ahead, John.
Just in response, we gotta make sure that we pay for this.
Oh, yeah.
So that it's not
Yeah.
subsidized by the taxpayer.
No, it's, they've done.
No, I know it's good to keep it low.
Still gonna make money, I
Still
still
gonna make
don't
money.
have some of that, but I trust the people that are doing the work for the numbers, that we still can't get the return that we have to make it pay. We can't do it, we're not doing it on the backs of taxpayers. As Peter mentioned earlier, we're doing it as a business, so it has to pay some way. Okay, if there's no, or Councilor Butler.
Just one more question in regards to, Mr. Warden, in regards to staffing. We've talked in the past about hiring 1 or 2 people to come on site to help administer this program. Where are we with that?
So they are working through that process from a technical standpoint. So they're evaluating, I guess the way to say it is they're evaluating the applicants we have versus the requirements of the network and trying to ensure that we do not have any gaps in skill sets. So they are working through that process. I would expect that should be hopefully wrapping up in the next week to 2 weeks. Working through that. So
Great, go ahead, Councilor.
So I just thought of this, that the last time we had our update, Brian, you mentioned that the map was in progress being updated at that time, it should have been ready at the end of the week. So, like, do we have to update that every couple of weeks? Like, if people are going in and checking that, are they getting the most up-to-date information? Or is it not been working properly since the last update? I was a little confused. Because we said we were going to, that actually been updated at the end of the week, that the last update was a month ago. And that's saying that the progress is being updated, the house was kind of confused and how that map update works.
So the map update, the live map is in progress of being updated. One of the things they've had to do, or I guess one of the delays on it, was really around the tower sites and nailing down those. But they are working on the update. We can see some of the changes that are on it. And so there's some of the data is kind of working its way through, I guess. It's tedious, I guess.
It's just my perspective, we can help people to use that map, but they're getting information that will be of value to them now.
Go ahead, Joanne.
I did put a disclaimer on the website today that says map is under update, so we I was expecting quite a few calls as well.
And one of the problems with the map, that it's a computer trying to emulate or figure out what's on the ground. One of the things that you may notice, if you're on a road that has fiber, you may have 4 homes in a row that have fiber, and then a couple that do not, and then it picks up again with fiber. Well, the reason is they have a buffer on the center line of the road. So it basically says whether it's like 250 feet from the center line. Well, those two homes could be 300 feet. So it excludes them from the fiber zone type thing. So there's some nuances behind it that are tough to nail down and make it kind of as an absolute. So there is a little bit of interpolation, and I guess interpretation that we have to do with it. But it is in the process of being updated. The dates, delivery dates are being updated for a number of the communities, especially on the wireless, to kind of flow with the tower sites. And the fiber is being updated with estimates on when fiber might be installed. The biggest variable there is the make readies, right? The make readies are holding us up to some degree. They're holding us up, right? We've filed all our fiber routes for 2022 and 2023. But our 2020 plan, some of them are just being approved now. So we're 18 to 24 months on make-readies.
We're dependent on outside bodies sometimes. So there's a problem with no good power to be hold up on the make-readies, and we finally got rid of our agreement with Rock Network or whatever, and that held us up bad for 2 months. We're now free of that, and telecom is back working. It hasn't been here for several weeks because of that disagreement, so we lost a lot of good time there. Whenever you're dealing with other parties, you're always going to run into some holdups, and there's a lot of holdups right now because the supply chain too, that the parts is not available. And that does hold you up or hold the companies up. So I guess we have to just keep working our way through it and trust that we're going to make it to the other end. I think we will, like Dave did before. Let's move on then to community announcements. Does anybody have any community announcements? Go ahead, Darla. You have something to say?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Warden. I'd like to wish the lobster fishermen tomorrow a safe setting day. They're usually get out in the water, and it's probably like Christmas morning, many homes across our areas, counties. So I just wanted to wish them all a safe season and.
Where's the love for the safety?
You know.
Okay, another be announced tonight. Council Day Becker.
I want to announce that this Saturday, May the 7th, Millbrook Community Hall, and Brian knows who that is. There's a Mother's Day, it's a, I think it's a turkey supper, excuse me, the takeout supper because of COVID. They've done this for a couple of decades now. Used to be a sit-down supper with had 2 or 3 sessions, but can't have that now. But anyway, I think it's $12 for a plate, but for the circle. And I also want to have the mic mention that on Saturday, the last day of April, we had a very successful takeout supper at the Untitled Hall. We sold out, and we got a very good report back on the news. But they made probably all said and done, maybe between $1,600 and $1,800. That helps with a small win. Thank you.
What time is from May 7th?
I think it's 10:30 to 1:30. I'm not certain. Go to the Millbrook Community Hall when this day supper. Thank you.
Fran has an announcement.
I just wanted to remind everybody that our photo is next. It's property finance, so better go to 6:30.
2 weeks from tonight, 6:30. Okay, any other community announcements? Hearing none, need a motion to, or any emergency resolution? Hearing none, need a motion to clean camera.
So moved.
Moved and seconded. We call for a 5-minute recess, and then we'll